I am Eric C. Keast.
I'm Zzorhn Carlson. Welcome to the news, the whole news and nothing but the news.
Thank you very much. Today, news. Zzorhn Carlson will begin with a reading of the first two articles.
In top news today, the cigarette company in Canada has issued an order that all cigarettes that are sold within Canada must have their packaging with warnings that are 75% of the packaging of the cigarettes. Which means that if a carton is this big, you're looking at this much ability on the front of your carton to advertise what brand it is.
Scientists note that information is front-loaded in the pictorial regions of the brain. Therefore, we claim this is more than 75%. We think the picture should be smaller.
The pictures themselves depict graphic images of lung cancer and the wasting away of a particular 29-year-old who is suffering from lung cancer and other illnesses caused by her personal choice to smoke cigarettes.
Scientists note almost everyone gets cancer.
In this debate, the issue was that the cigarette companies had took the took the government of Canada to court.
Would you like a cigarette?
Actually, I wouldn't mind a cigarette after the show.
There you go.
The government of Canada was taken to court by the cigarette companies and lost.
It is noted that most judges smoke cigars.
In other top news, Canada
is still planning to phase out its subsidies in oil, gas, and coal industries. Environmental Minister Peter Kent said Monday in the House of Commons. He made the comments in response to questions about recent post-media news coverage of Canada's efforts at International Environmental Summit in Brazil to block a firm commitment by all countries to phase out incentives for production or consumption of fossil fuels.
So on one hand, they have where they're explaining, the environmental minister is boldly stating that they're not going to block subsidies, and yet in our representation internationally, we are doing our best efforts and to cause a scene and embarrass ourselves in the international stage.
Now, as you know, Mr. Orwell pointed out, it is possible to have two contradictory ideas in your head at the same time. Do not worry about this.
In other international matters, in the United States, the 29-year-old Olympian runner has placed third place and will manage to go on to the Olympics in London for the Olympics in 2012.
How many legs does she have now?
She has two.
That's it?
Yes.
I thought she was getting more.
No. The 29-year-old is recently made news headlines being is that she is a virgin.
What?
This is the major study as to what has brought her 15 minutes of fame.
Praise, hallelujah, thank goodness for virgin athletes.
It is a widely common phrase, or widely commonly known, that the 29-year-old is probably a virgin because of the fact that it would be difficult for most young males to catch her. In thus, she has never been caught yet.
Boom, boom.
And in weather news, we bring you over to Eric.
107 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona. 21,000 acres burned in the second largest fire in history for Colorado. Larmer County?
Colorado.
Larmer, Colorado.
It's the second biggest forest fire in their history in that state.
Well, you know what? When things get hot, it gets hot out there.
And this means that the firefighters are actually having to battle these forest fires in triple-digit weather.
I wanted to be a forest firefighter when I was young. They're like heroes. Only the start to hurricane season, and tropical storms already destined to hit the United States.
That's right, Eric. In what is almost to be a historic moment when most hurricanes occur in August, the early arrival of the June hurricane, or tropical storm, as this one is classified as Debbie, in the Gulf Coast, is surprising scientists and alarming some politicians and insurance companies.
What are they ever going to do about Tropical Storm Debbie?
Well, the fact is that Tropical Storm Debbie right now is sitting in the Gulf of Mexico, and as there's triple-digit temperatures all across the United States, from Texas to Oregon to Arizona, these hot zones have created plus 80-degree Fahrenheit water that is feeding this monstrous tropical storm and quickly to become a hurricane. Now, what is going to happen is that this tropical storm, most forecasts indicate that it will be hitting landfall approximately along Louisiana coast, hitting Texas and barreling down into Mexico. If that sounds like a lot of territory, it is, because what's going to happen is it's going to barrel along.
We think it's going to hit the heart of Texas. You know
it's
what
not going
that
to make
means?
real landfall. It's going to just
what
braze
that
the
means?
coast.
Debbie's going to do. Debbie's going to do Dallas.
Debbie's going to do Dallas. In that so much, I actually, as a personal note, would like to say that Hurricane Debbie really doesn't strike fear into the hearts and minds of people. And if anything, I think
this is going to be a terrible fucking storm. We should name it better.
We should rename this storm something a lot better. I mean, if we're going to name something, you should have something that just scares the bejesus out of people. So we're going to rename Tropical Storm Debbie is now going to become Hurricane Sandowski. And he's going to start with a lot of sucking and blowing, and he's going to rape all up and down the coast.
That's right, folks. It is a terrible thing. Remember to vote this fall.
Just remember, there is no global warming. There is no global warming. There is no global warming.
B is for Blockbuster. According to the Hollywood Reporter, 20th Century Fox has acquired the rights to the beloved and iconic children's show Sesame Street. The film will be the first Sesame Street film of the 21st century. The Fuzzy Cast has previously appeared in 2 other feature films.
That's right. We're going to be bringing back icons such as Big Bert, Ernie, Snuffleupagus, and a lot of the other cast. I'm not sure if what they're going to actually do. I know Elmo will be in, most definitely. Now, we're talking about a television show that was made in the 60s and has been revamped in a lot of ways. If you look at, they have Elmo's Playhouse and
with modern technology, how we're going to be able to take these iconic things of your childhood imagination and twist them and use them to work you.
And just remember, in our society now, Ernie can't sleep in the same bed with Bert.
They're fags, right?
I don't know.
They were gay as shit.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Sesame Street has aired on PBS since 1969. It's been wildly successful. The show has won 138 Emmys over the years and has garnered a massive audience. Nearly 75 million Americans have grown up singing along to the alphabet song with Big Bird and Elmo. I saw a documentary with the guy who plays Elmo. It was really incredible. He was, I believe, the first black puppeteer on the Muppet Crew. You know, not because it was like a hugely racist institution. It's just wherever they were from. You know, whatever. But he was a really cool puppeteer, discussing the evolution of Elmo. He wasn't the first puppeteer to try and make Elmo work, but he found the voice and the the personality of Elmo, and now he trains other people to become Elmo. It's really a very cool documentary.
Thank you for that side story there, Eric. In other news, and in related news with the Emmys, tonight marks this year's Daytime Emmy Awards. And what is unfortunate with a lot of our programs, we're forced to actually compete with some really great programming out there. Sunday night, 7 o'clock, it's prime time.
But now we run news 24 hours, 7 days a week.
With the Daytime Emmy Awards, we know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of people not watching that. So tune into us.
So we can make shit up that you don't have to see in other places.
In related news with the Daytime Emmys, it's widely rumored that Regis will be getting his Daytime Emmy for the first time, being as that he is also, this is his last year.
I was concerned. I saw Kathy Lee Gifford on a show early in the morning a couple weeks ago, and she said she was going to be hosting again with Regis. And I thought, that is surely another sign of the apocalypse.
Possibly. However, the show is now going to be Kelly Ripa's show, and we're not really sure who her co-host is going to be.
Yeah, what's Regis going to do?
Regis is retiring.
Is he?
Yes.
I think he's dead. I think he died like 12 years ago.
And they just reanimated
him? He's
him?
an animatronic.
He just got his arms.
I think he's animatronic.
Move his arms! You moved them too far! Move them back!
In other news, gas prices are expected to keep going down for the next 4 months. The U.S. election is in 4 months. Boom, boom. Thank you for writing me a joke. He wrote me one joke.
Wasn't a joke, actually. In for the last 3 weeks, it is splashed all over media about the lowering gas prices across continental United States. And in an interesting twist, the proclamations from these analysts think that the gas prices will continue to drop for the next 4 months. As you said, the presidential election is in 4 months.
Yeah. And you can groan and say, well, that's an obvious joke, but I mean, we manipulate our enemies, we manipulate our friends in the world in order to present a certain shading of the world, in order to shape prices, in order to shape elections. You have to wonder what kind of big emergency is going to happen between now and then. It's one thing I hated when I was working at the time of the Bush administration, was all the terror alerts.
You're going to get fired if you keep reporting news that way.
Have you ever seen the movie Network?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
I'm so busy with my research trying to find new news stories and try to adapt them so that my bosses don't fire my ass.
The next thing on the newspaper today, Muslim Brotherhood elected in Egypt. The most famous slogan used worldwide is, Islam is the solution.
Islam is the solution. That is so wrong. Sorry, that was outside my head, wasn't it? Oh, we're live. Sorry.
We're not supposed to be proselytizing for or against. We are reporting the news. We don't tell you what to think.
In an interesting twist, the United States government has reached out to the newly elected Egyptian leaders, expressing their tentative agreement and willingness to work together.
The United States, as well as all other colonial powers, have always been willing to work with a dictatorship because it's much easier to have a stable economy when you know that prices are going to be consistent and there's not going to be any labor problems.
I suppose the irony being is that a democratic society just voted in a fascist state.
All fascist states are voted in. Once you have power, then you
They'll
can
just
go
take it
away
away.
with the voting.
Egypt won't be democratic for very much longer. Thank you. Come again.
The Brotherhood credo was and is, God is our objective. The Quran is our constitution. The Prophet is our leader. Jihad is our way. And death for the sake of God is the highest of our aspirations. The Brotherhood of Islam is all BS.
Fact is that you have an entire nation that is ruling their country based on a religion that encourages jihad, or these holy wars, finds it acceptable to behead other infidels, would block people, young girls, from running out of a burning building because they don't have the proper headgear to wear in public, find nothing wrong and don't protest when a bomb is thrown into a school. But when somebody decides to draw a cartoon of them and put Muhammad up at the top, they get really upset and protest. Talk about twisted morals.
This is the news, folks. We're not telling you how to think. Remember, Sunday's White House statement alluded to Obama administration's hope that the rise of blah 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 and his blah 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 will not get Egyptian-Israeli relations in a huff. For all his faults, Mubarak was credited in Washington with resisting 3 decades of pressure within Egypt to break the Camp David Accords with Israel or loosen its alliance with the United States. There's some complex stuff out there. We are on top of it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to tonight's news, the whole news, and nothing but the news. I'm Zzorhn Carlson.
I'm Eric C. Keast.
Thank you.
Good night.